Hey, Mark.
Ho, ho, ho. Merry Christmas.
You do an excellent Santa, I have to say.
I'm really disappointed that no one's asked me to be Santa at any point.
I think it will come. And I think also if we sort of mention it in conversation, then, you know, because maybe it's a funny thing.
I'll put it on a podcast.
Yeah. Maybe it's a strange thing to be asked to be Santa. Because you're quite young. You're a young Santa. Maybe
I'm really not.
No, but you don't, like, generally speaking, Santa's not normally 42, is he? So.
How old was Tim Allen when he was in the Santa Claus?
Oh, I don't know.
Let's look at
I mean, there's only one Santa in my world, and that's the Santa from Santa Claus the movie.
Yeah, but that's not the only Santa.
Yeah, but in my headcanon.
So Santa Claus was 1994. I bet he was younger than I am now, which is devastating.
It is devastating. It's like the time that we found out that Russ Abbott was the same age as us.
Yeah.
Well, but in the 80s.
He was 41. Yeah.
Oh, was he?
Yes. So yeah, I'm not too young.
You're not too young. Oh well, I'm looking forward to all of those invitations coming in.
Yes.
For next year, perhaps.
I think they're a bit late for now.
They're a bit late
I've
for
not
now.
got a suit or anything.
You do have a very good Santa voice, though. I find it really quite impressive.
I don't think that's the only qualification either. Like,
Well, you've got a beard. We could put some like whitening powder on it. We can get you like a wig and a big hat, and we could put lots of padding on and then a big suit. There you go, you're Santa.
do you know what annoys me on adverts this year? It's the prevalence of sexy Santas.
Oh, is there? Oh, I've not noticed that.
There's one for an Audi self-driving car with like definite sexy Santa.
Is he young Santa like you?
Well, I'd say he's early 50s.
Okay.
But he's very like.
Is he very slim and?
He's slim.
Has he been
he's
to
wearing
the
a
gym?
suit. Yeah, he's got nicely thinned hair. The guy who's showing him it is the baddie from you. Only you will understand this.
Okay.
The baddie from FIFA 17, Alex Hunter's
Yes,
game.
Alex Hunter. Yes.
Who's also in Unforgotten.
Yeah.
I can't remember the actor's name, but yeah, sexy Santa.
Okay. Oh, I'm looking forward to it. This is getting better and better.
We've got a new look.
We have got a new logo. We've got a brand new style. We've got a fantastic new logo. We're just so over the moon with it. You had an idea.
Yes.
And then I got in touch with Kylie. And you can see Kylie's work. Kylie's a graphic designer. You can see Kylie's work at curly_ANNH. Have I got that right?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, on Twitter. So you can see her work there, and do recommend that you go and have a look at her work, which is amazing. We had this Mark had an idea, and I got in touch with Kylie and said, would this be a possibility? And not only was it a possibility, it was beyond the realms of what we thought could be possible. When we first saw the mock-ups, we were just totally blown away.
And for anyone looking at our logo, I've actually got more of a belly than Kylie gave me on the logo. So don't let that put you off for any Santa invitations or anything like that.
What I love about we obviously told everyone, we did a little countdown, didn't we? We're like, we're getting a new logo, because we were so excited about it, because the branding we created ourselves
in about 2 minutes.
In about 2 minutes. Like, when we first started out the podcast, we just got on Canva and thought, let's do something in the style of a house, because we're in the house because it's in lockdown. And then I just found a font and wrote the honeymoon period, and that was our branding, wasn't it?
My favourite bit of that was you working on it for 2 hours.
Yes.
And then me just coming, tilting the house slightly, and then walking off. A bit like Justin Timberlake in The Social Network.
Oh, it was amazing. But it was very grey, and it was very sort of indicative of what was going on in the world at the time, because
Yes.
we were locked down. And we really, really needed something that represented us better. So, like I said, I put it on all the socials, put it on Instagram and Twitter, and actually the Cinemile replied back to us and gave us lovely positive feedback about it. And then I went back and said it's a much better representation of us than in real life, and they came back and said that was the best thing about these podcast logos. So I'm absolutely delighted that I look like that in the logo.
I'm not sure many podcasts talk about their own at work as much as we have.
It's really exciting, actually. I think
Yes.
it's a really exciting thing for us, because it represents sort of a new. Well, we're going into the new year, aren't we? So it's a new style for us. It's a new look. It really made me actually feel really proud of the podcast when I saw it pop up on Pocket Cast, which I use. Because when up against all the other podcast logos, I really felt like it looked so professional and
Yes,
and very much us as well. There's a wedding cake element to it, which is so clever that Kylie thought of. And I just love that about it. It really reminds me of our wedding because we had a beautiful wedding cake that was created by my best friend Alison, which also had a cinema element to it. So, yeah, it just all sort of reminds me of really lovely things. You're looking at me as if to say, please stop talking about our logo.
I'm looking at you as if to say, honey, I watched Avatar yesterday and we've not been able to talk about it.
Okay.
And I'm understanding we've got some TV to talk about in between. Okay. So,
anyway, thank you, Kylie.
Thank you, Kylie.
For our logo.
Yes.
As you can probably tell from the fact that we've spent a long time talking about it, we're absolutely delighted, and it's just, it's lovely. I'm so happy. Sorry, I'm just going to stop now.
And mark at thehoneymoonperiod.com for any Santa invites.
Yeah.
Watching television.
We've got 2 things to talk about on TV. One I've watched, one we've watched together. Which one do you want to do first? Do you want to get my bit out of the way, or do you want to talk about the one that we've seen together?
I mean, I think you could probably talk about Strike for about an hour in itself, couldn't you?
Probably the same amount as I've talked about our new logo. So yeah, I'm quite happy to do that. Do you want me to go for it?
You go first, yeah.
Okay, so Strike is back on BBC. If you don't know anything about Strike, Strike is a detective drama. It's based on the books by Robert Galbraith, which is J.K. Rowling's pseudonym.
Spoilers.
And that's her... That's not a spoiler. It is. I think now on the books, it's like maybe her picture on the back, even of Robert Galbraith.
I'd like it if it was her wearing a fake moustache and a little hat.
Yeah. Well, for a while people didn't know, but obviously then it all came out. So, J.K. Rowling, writing as Robert Galbraith. I think there are many books now. I think there might be 5 or 6 books in the series now. I haven't read the books, as you can probably tell by the fact that I'm rambling on at this point. But it was a BBC drama that I became aware of because it stars, as one of its main stars, is the wonderful Tom Burke, who I feel like now that I'm a woman in her 40s that I shouldn't have celebrity crushes, but if I was to have a celebrity crush, it would be Mr. Tom Burke.
You've got more of this coming up as well. Yeah.
I think he's great. I think he's just so charismatic, and he's a little troubled. I mean, in this show, he's a little troubled, and he's like a minor celebrity because his dad was a rock star from years before, and he's got a troubled relationship with him, and he's a war veteran, and I think he's lost his leg, and he's anyway. Yeah.
I didn't know this.
Yeah. So he's this really fascinating character, and now he's a private detective, and Tom Burke just plays this. It's very grizzled. He's got a long coat. He's smoking every 5 minutes. He's a heavy drinker.
He plays it the same as I've seen Tom Burke in every single thing.
It's brilliant.
Same as in The Souvenir, the same as in, I imagine, in The Three Musketeers.
I loved him in The Three Musketeers as well. So I just find him really charismatic as a performer. And then you've got Holiday Granger playing his partner.
Hermione.
You keep calling her Hermione, but it's Holiday Granger. I understand that there's a Harry Potter connection there, but that's J.K. Rowling did not know that Holiday Granger was going to play Robin Ellicott.
She might.
I don't think she did. Anyway, so Robin is his business partner. I think she started off being his assistant in the earlier series, but now she's his business partner, and then they're running this private detective agency. I loved the earlier series, and I really enjoyed the detective aspect of it, but the main thing that I really adored was their relationship, because they have this will they, won't they relationship going all the way through. In the earlier series, Robin is married to this absolute idiot. He puts her down, he's really toxic around money and how much she earns, and he's horrible. And the whole time you're going, don't marry her. Because she's about to marry him. Don't marry him. And Cormoran Strike's coming to the wedding. You're like, you should be marrying him, but he's also really annoying sometimes. And yeah, it's the relationships behind the scenes that are really interesting.
I only know Tom Burke really from your rantings and your lust, but also from the Souvenir films. Certainly the first one. If you've not seen them, they are brilliant films, but tough work. So I can't think of him as being anything other than a really toxic person, because that is the absolute toxic relationship.
In this, he's not toxic. He's troubled. I think he has a heart of gold. He wants to help people. For example, in this particular series, we're looking at a cold case. So someone has disappeared in the 1970s. Their daughter, who's now grown up, has never known what's happened to their mum. And she says to Strike, who has now become a celebrity because he's been in the news because he's solved other crimes. She said to him, I know who you are, I've got a little bit of money, will you help me? And he wants to help. He at one point says, oh, you're running out of money, I'll just do this at cost, or we'll do things for free. So he has a really good heart. He wants to help people, but sometimes he does drink to excess. Sometimes he forgets Robin's birthday, so he's not picture perfect, and that's kind of what I like about him, because he has a journey to become a more settled human being, I would be saying, than someone who he's being in the war. He's had the really difficult relationship with his mother and his biological father. So he's got all of these things going on, but he's also very supportive of Robin, who again is a really well fleshed out character. She is a rape survivor. She has PTSD. You see that within the series. You see the ramifications of the assault and also the PTSD in the mental health issues. So I find it really, really fascinating from a character perspective. And then you've got your whodunit. And for me, this series was just the best. I could not stop watching it, and I loved all the elements of it. I was really drawn in by the whodunit. I was really drawn in by this 1970s woman has gone missing. And as per a detective drama, you've got so many people who are coming in and out, these chess pieces of, oh, well, what happened to them in the 70s? Were they the bad person? Where are they now? Have they changed their name? Will we ever find them again? There's a serial killer element to it as well, and clearly Rowling's taken inspiration from real life serial killers and also the attempts to try and link cases to those serial killers. So it's really, really interesting, lots of real life. And then you've got this love story at the centre, and every time Robin and Strike are close to each other, like at one point they're just sitting eating chips, and you can feel that tension, you can feel that chemistry between the two actors, and also you're really wanting them to get together, but at the same time you kind of don't, because you don't want that tension to be resolved. I
saw you watching an episode where you were like at the same time egging them on and also devastated that they were going to hook up.
I know, because you just don't want that to go. Because, I mean, he is an idiot, and you just know, at one point, someone says to him, why haven't you asked her out? And he's like, I'm going to fuck it up. And you just know he will. So you don't want him to fuck it up. You want him to, there's all this going on, in the background.
With the girl from the copy place while he thought they were on a break.
There's a lot of that, but it's a brilliant drama. It's brilliant.
Would I like this?
I mean, I don't. There's part of me that thinks I think you would enjoy a sort of an old-fashioned, because it is very much old-fashioned BBC. Here's a murder mystery with some really interesting modern elements. So it's looking at how feminism has progressed throughout the years. It's looking at the role of women. It had I did not guess who had committed the crime, and I really loved that it wasn't something that was so obvious. So you might enjoy
was it Tom Burke's dad?
Element to
the
it.
Rock star.
But then also there's all the drama behind it. So in this, he's looking back at his past and her family members that he grew up with. You've got all of that going on. She's got her divorce going on. That's what I mean by it being so well-rounded. It's not just, oh, here's a murder mystery and you know, we don't really care about the characters a throwaway. There's a thread going all the way through the series of the different people coming in and out as well.
Would you recommend this higher or lower than Unforgotten?
Ooh.
Because it sounds in the same ballpark.
It does. I think they're on a par, to be honest with you. I really, really enjoyed this last series, though. I think some of the other series that I've seen have been great, but I didn't feel quite as passionate about them.
And some of them are just 2 parts, the other series, aren't they? Some of them are 4, some of them are 6, I think.
Yeah, and this was 4. And like I say, I love this one. And I'd already done my top 10 of the year, and now I've had to rejingle it because I've seen this.
Rejingle it?
Rejingle it. See, that's for Christmas.
For Christmas,
for
yeah.
Christmas,
Rejigging, but for Christmas.
Yeah.
Can we talk quickly about the Flatshare?
Yes, let's do the Flatshare quickly.
So this is a show that's on Paramount Plus, which isn't my first choice for finding something.
And I don't even know how to get on Paramount Plus. Do you just say it into the television, Paramount Plus, please?
Yes.
Right, okay,
please, Mr. Skybox.
You know, when you press the button on the side of the thing.
Yeah, I mean, we get it free because we have Sky Cinema.
Okay.
You didn't know that, did
I
you?
didn't. No, that's why I'm asking the question.
But yeah, so if you have Sky Cinema, I understand you get this free as part of it. So it is, a lot of people will have it, but yeah. This is an adaptation of the book by Beth O'Leary, which was out a couple of years ago, I think.
Well, yes, because you told me about this before we watched it the other day, and I was a bit sad that I didn't know of this book because it seems to have been a bestseller.
Yes. It stars Jessica Brown Finlay as Tiffany and Anthony Welsh as Leon. And they are young professionals trying to make their way in London and in an idea to save themselves money. She is a journalist who works during the day. He is a nurse who works during the night. So they share an apartment and she has it during the night, he has it during the day, and they never meet. Well, until, I mean, if I say this is a romantic comedy, then I think, yes, obviously at some point they will meet.
Yeah. But to begin with, they converse through post-it notes. And I can imagine that being a really interesting conceit in the book. So you see it in the TV show that they leave each other these little post-it notes with little messages on about like the coffee machine or things that have happened within the flat, and then also starting to share more information about their personal lives as well.
I love this. I think this is an absolute breath of fresh air, and it really, really could have been shite. And I think it's carried by Jessica Brown Finlay and Anthony Welsh, who I've never seen in anything that I remember. I mean, I've looked at the credits, and I think she was in Downton Abbey, is she?
I know her from Downton Abbey, yeah.
I didn't know her from anything.
That's many, many years ago. She was very young. I mean, she's very young now, but she was really young in that.
And I've seen a few things with Anthony Welsh in Starred Up, for one, which is a great film, but it's not someone who's a character who's stuck with me. They are such likeable presences on screen that even though their lives are a bit of a mess because they're young and living in London, and I think
she's a journalist in one of the online magazines that are looking for, like, if it bleeds, it leads, or something like that, is what the editor says when they're trying to find things that will
might as well
go on
be
the front
called
page.
Fuzzbead or something like that. And everything goes wrong between them. She just got out of a bad relationship. He's in one that's with a girlfriend who is an interesting character. I think was dare say. But this is really, really nice.
Yeah, it is. It's really positive, isn't it? And there are elements of the truth to it, like cost of living crisis, people trying to live in London. She's in a cafe at one point with one of her friends, and she's going down the menu and saying, like, £12 for a bit of avocado on toast, and things like that are true to life. And you can imagine there being a situation where two people are working at different shifts. You could share this one bedroom flat. Knowing how shift works in the NHS, there will obviously always be a time where he isn't on night shift. You normally do night shift for a number of nights, and then you have some time off the night shift because you have to have that space. So part of me has to sort of suspend disbelief. But you can see, people have said this as well, you can see, particularly in this day and age, how that, as mad as it is, might be something people have to do in order to live, particularly in the south in London, and to stay there. but it's very cute without being cutesy.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it's just the right side of, like, charming, I think is the, yeah. If I had one criticism, I think if this was half-hour episodes, it would be absolutely perfect, and I think we'd have watched it all by now.
Yeah.
It's 45 minutes, and that extra 15 minutes is just that extra barrier, I think. I think when we were talking about the bear last episode and things like that, like, the prevalence of this year for half-hour dramas is really, really something that I'm really behind, because I think that, like, bite-sized TV that you can just fit in between things, and just if you fancy an early night, I can just put it on and before bed and stuff like that. Yeah, but 15 minutes, like, we will get through this. I think we'll watch this pretty swiftly and get it finished. But yeah,
the thing that I'm not sold on is there's a subplot with the flatmate's brother. Can't remember what was flatmate Leon. Leon's brother, who was in prison, and I'm not really interested in that. I'm sure I think I'd put 2 and 2 together in that the friend's a legal aid lawyer, and it all sort of, and I was like, I can put this together very, very quickly, and I just didn't care about that, and I'm just happy spending time with them both in their separate lives, and seeing how they build their relationship up. But I do understand, obviously this is based on a book as well, there's got to be something that drives the plot forward.
Yes.
So
you can't just have them
we've met now, there we go,
hello, let's go for a drink, let's have a meal, so we're working different times. Shall we get on to films? Because I'm itching to talk about it.
Go on then.
Saturday night at the movies. Who cares what picture you see? When you're with your baby, last row in the balcony.
Before we get into Avatar, which I know you're itching to do.
No, you're itching to do. You keep saying you're itching to do it, and you're now going to introduce some other films that I haven't seen. And is this because you've been watching Christmas films?
I'm going to do a Christmas film speed run.
Okay.
I can do 3 films in the time it took you to do Strike.
Oh, right, fair enough.
Right, okay. First film, Violent Night.
Another favourite of mine.
This must have been the easiest film to pitch, because you could walk into a room and say, David Harbour is Santa Claus, is John McClane.
Yeah.
This is Santa Die Hard. This is Santa fighting off terrorists. And I didn't know what to expect with this. There was nothing on at the cinema. I think everything has given Avatar so much space, and nothing really wanted to stick around. But this was on. I'd not been to the cinema for a few weeks because we'd had a lot on. So just went to see anything. And I was expecting this to be shite. This is so much fun. Basically, the story is rich family in a house. Terrorists come in trying to take all the money. We are seeing it through the eyes of a family who are in the verge of breaking up, who have gone to their patriarch's mansion for Christmas. And the rest of the family, in quite a Knives Out kind of way, are dickheads. This is ultra-violent. Like, there are incidents which make you go, ooh.
Is it an 18?
It's a 15, I think.
Oh, okay.
But it must have been borderline. There's not. It's all done in a comic way.
Right, so it's not like torture violence or anything
No. But there are things that will make you go, ooh.
Yeah.
It wears its references on its sleeve.
Okay.
Knows exactly what it's doing. At one point, a child says, I watched Home Alone last night.
Right.
Oh boy, do they put some booby traps out at points. There is one kill which is telegraphed earlier in the film, or not so much telegraphed, but uses a plot device earlier in the film where people in the audience applauded.
Right. I've not seen that done for a while.
I've not seen it done for a while, but it was brilliant.
And were there many people in the audience?
Nope,
Right,
no.
Right, because I can't imagine it being full.
David Harbour is brilliant.
Yeah.
Like, almost more charming as Santa than he is as in Stranger Things. Yeah. There is a point where he takes his shirt off, which will get you very excited.
I'm booked to see that next week.
The baddie is played by Jean Leguizamo, who's having a lovely time.
Yeah. Scenery chewing.
Everyone else is a little bit one note. The children are fine. Edie Patterson plays the exact same character she plays in Knives Out. Beverly D'Angelo plays the matriarch of the house. obviously Christmas film royalty. Do you know who she is?
No, I'm nodding away, but I have no idea who you're talking about.
She's the mother in the National Lampoon's films.
Oh, I see. I've not seen those, but would I? Come on. Oh, come on. They're not for me, are they?
Well, no.
I mean, National Lampoon, oh, it's so funny. Probably won't be for me.
Wait till next year. Wait till next year.
I just won't get any of the jokes.
But yeah, I can see why people would hate this film. But for me, if you go in just for a fun Christmas,
yeah,
absolutely nailed on.
What else have you seen? That was the only one I can think of.
Second film, Falling for Christmas.
Oh, God.
This is a Netflix original Christmas movie.
And there the review ends. Let's move on.
So, this is a combination of It's a Wonderful Life and your favourite Christmas film, Santa with Muscles.
Okay, yes.
A posh rich girl whose father owns a ski resort gets hit in the head, loses her memory, and is rescued by the owner of the quaint small ski resort that's down the track, that's running out of money.
I was about to say, are they running out of money?
Run out of money because the big one is taking all their bookings.
Capitalism.
The guy is played by Cord Overstreet, who was in Glee.
Oh, now and
has a hell of a name.
Yeah,
like, how is he not a bigger star?
That's how I know that name.
And the woman in her return to feature films is Lindsay Lohan.
Oh, God. Right, okay.
This is cheese. Mm-hmm. And I kind of wish that we were watching this together, because I think this is much better when you watch it going, so Cord Overstreet's wife's died, and
what's going to happen?
Their child just doesn't know what to do anymore, and looking for a maternal influence in her life. What possibly could happen here? All this is played. It's self-knowing. It knows exactly what it is. It is quite charming at times. George Young plays Lindsay Lohan's fiance, who I've not seen in anything since *Malignant*, where he played the cop. There is no greater difference in two films that I've seen someone in than these two films. If you want a cheesy Christmas film, you could do far worse than this. It's shit, but it knows it's shit. And it's utterly charming. Like, you can run a commentary, like, sit there going, he's going to propose on the edge of a cliff. You want to be careful being so close to the edge of that cliff. Oh, no, there she's fallen. Yeah. It knows exactly what it is. Put it on Christmas Eve, you will have a lovely, lovely time taking the piss out of it. And finally, have you heard of A Christmas Story?
No.
You haven't heard of it at all?
No, not at all.
Okay, right. So, 1983 made-for-TV movie.
Right. Who in?
Who in?
Who in?
Who in?
Who in? Who would be in it, Mark?
I don't think you'll have heard of anyone in it.
Oh, right, okay. So not like big 80s stars or anything
No,
like
no,
that.
no,
okay,
not at all.
Okay, well, I retract my who in.
Yeah. This is an absolute piece of folklore in America. Like a made-for-TV movie that just took off from there. So TBS, you've heard of that channel, will play it from Christmas Eve evening back to back all the way through Christmas and to Christmas night evening. So 12 showings in a row over 24 hours.
Did you say TBS?
TBS, yeah.
Oh, I've not. Oh, you said I've heard of it. I've heard of CBS, but I don't.
TBS it's a cable channel. Turner Broadcasting System.
See, I've not heard of it.
Okay, right. So, absolutely, there is other films in the franchise. It's an adaptation of a book. I first heard of this when I first started listening to podcasts, which was kind of like, until then, I don't think I'd have heard like someone talking about, an American talking about the Christmas films that influenced them, because how would you?
Yeah.
And so it's become more famous over here since then, I think. It was on BBC last year, I think, and I saw it then. I've seen it a couple of times. It's very episodic. It's the story of someone in the 40s or 50s being 10 years old, him and his family at Christmas. He wants a air rifle and hilarity ensues. It's also, I think it's quite similar to, probably very influential on Diary of a Wimpy Kid. It's very, it's that sort of looking back sort of thing. I suspect it also influenced The Wonder Years because it's got that narration over it from an older person looking back. There have been sequels made, mostly unsuccessfully, but this is a remake this year with largely the original cast, set in the 70s, where Ralphie is now a aspiring writer. I mean, what are the chances of that? And he is trying to write trying to get his first novel sold to companies.
Very hard.
Yes, very much so. And a few days before Christmas, he gets the call that his dad has passed away. So the family have to pack up and go to be with his mum and sort of look after the house in their hometown of Indiana. I don't have anywhere near the connection to the original story that the most of America will have. But I watched this anyway, and it is absolutely as charming as the original. I don't think it's going to be successful because it won't be shown on TBS for 24 hours dead straight. But if you've got any connection to the original at all, if you've ever seen it, and you know what, like if we're in the run up to Christmas, I think the original's on Prime Video now, so there's worse times you can spend 90 minutes on. I was in bits at certain points. Obviously, the death of a parent so close to Christmas, you're really ready to tug the heartstrings. At the end, over the end credits, they show like scenes from this next to scenes from the original.
Oh, okay.
And so I see I now see things that someone who was really familiar with the source material would make. I think this is on HBO Max in America. It's on Sky Movies in the UK. Even if you've not seen it, it's a perfectly fine Christmas movie. Just don't expect too much of it. But yeah, it's lovely. And Peter Billingsley, who's the guy who plays Ralph, and I was like, what's he been up to? Turns out he's very successful. Was an executive producer on the first Iron Man film.
Oh, right, okay.
It looks like he's mates with Vince Vaughn and who's the guy who directed Iron Man?
Oh, yes, him.
Pete, the millionaire from Friends. Why can't I remember his name?
Happy in the actual film.
Yes.
I can't remember. I want to say Seth Rogen, and it's so not Seth Rogen, but it's that sort of like clipped.
Oh, I hate getting old.
I know.
I can't remember it at all. John Favreau.
That's it. Not exactly the short name that I was thinking of.
So, yeah, because he was also in and friend. He was a producer on Elf. He was a producer on The Breakup. So yeah, great. He's doing well for himself.
Yeah, definitely.
He's absolutely fine. He's really charming in this. Yeah. Let's talk about Avatar.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, I'm ready too.
So, Avatar, the follow-up to the biggest film of all time.
Yeah. Avatar, The Way of Water. Are we going to call it Avatar 2 and Avatar, just so that we don't have to say The Way of Water all the time?
I think the film. I think we can just call it the film from now on.
The film
Avatar, The Way of Water, brackets, the film. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, sorry, I interrupted you when you were doing a bit of a synopsis.
The follow-up to the most successful film of all time, the highest grossing film of all time. 12 years since the original?
So,
no, 13 years now. Yeah, it was
time.
Christmas 2009. And James Cameron's return to cinema.
I had not realised until I listened to our friend the movie Robcast's recent exploration of his films that he had only done 8 films.
Yes.
It just hadn't dawned on me that he hadn't done as many films as I would have anticipated for someone who's just so big in the filmmaking world.
Just for clarity, I think you were a huge fan of Avatar, the original.
Yeah, very much so.
I was somewhat cold to it. I think it's technically fine. I think there's a great fight scene at the end, but anything involving actual plot or acting left me quite cold. If you want to listen to our thoughts further, please check out the movie Robcast, the most latest episode at time of recording. Probably going to have a review of Avatar.
I think they're ready to, because they did see it as well.
I mean, listen to all the James Cameron episodes.
It's brilliant.
And listen to all the episodes of the
other
Robcast.
episodes, but in particular the latest James Cameron run is so fascinating. So much more knowledge I feel I've got now of films, even like Titanic, which I felt like I had quite a bit of knowledge because it came out 1997, wasn't it, Titanic?
Yeah.
Or
97.
97.
I think it was 98 in this country.
Peak time for me, listening to the soundtrack over and over again. So I thought I knew quite a lot about Titanic because I read about it a lot at the time, and yet listening to the Robs and all of their guests, I found out so much more about that film and all the other films as well, like little nuggets of information that just, you know, as a film fan you go, oh, how did I not know that before, but wow, I've learned something new. So really, really educational.
I feel moving on to Avatar The Way of Water, we need to have a conversation about technicals up front.
Okay, yeah.
Because I went and watched this in the brand new Dolby Theatre at the Odeon Metro Centre, which is, I think, one of only 6 or 7 in the country. Okay. You watched this
at our local cinema in just plain old 3D, no IMAX, no recliner seats. I was quite sure because I usually go for like the IMAX recliner seats most of the time I go to the cinema, and I went into the room and first of all it was pitch black, and we'll come back to that in a moment, but when I went and sat on the seats I was like, oh, it doesn't move, it doesn't recline. The seats were not as comfortable as I usually have, but it was just plain old 3D, so 3D glasses and no Dolby sound, no IMAX.
So, the Dolby Theatre is... I've been to the one in London Leicester Square.
Yes, you have.
We talked about that on the podcast. Did I go see Candyman?
You went to see something horror, and it was Candyman, yeah.
Brand new, just been opened in the last month or so, I think. When I walked in, the rake on this is so high. Do you know what that means?
Yeah, like
yeah. Almost felt like when you're walking in that you walk into the set of. Do you remember the National Lottery game where it's like 100 to 1?
Yes, and everyone's up in the sky.
Yes, that's almost like what it's like when you walk in.
That reminds me of the IMAX in London. I mean, you can tell I've not been for a long time, but there's like, it's a great big circle. If the Robs are listening, they'll be laughing their head off because they'll know it. But it's like a circular building. I can't remember whereabouts it is, but
it was the BFI.
Yeah, is it the BFI? I don't know. Anyway, I went to it once to watch. Not Tenet. Inception.
Yes.
I was working my way backwards, and that had I was like, oh, we're up in the air, and you can sort of feel like people are almost like, you know, just like down there, and then you know people are. Yeah, so I know exactly what you mean. Sorry, that was terrible.
So, the advantage of the Dolby Cinema is it has laser projection. It has the best contrast I've ever seen on a cinema screen. So there is the blackest of blacks, there is the brightest of brights, colours are extremely vivid. And I wanted to check it out just for a film. When the original 3D revolution came off, and everyone was kicking off saying, well, everything looks a bit dull because the glasses take the shine off them and something like that. Laser projection is on its way, and that will solve a lot of things. But we'll get to that in a little bit. You didn't have the Vario frame rate, did you?
Did I? I mean, this is the question. Well, let's start with the fact that I walked into the cinema. It was 10:30 in the morning. I went to see a really early showing, which was great because this is a long film. And when I walked in, there was nothing on the screen, and everyone was just sat in the dark. So I took my seat, and there were only 5 people in at that time. I think there was only 6 or 7 of us in the entire showing, which is interesting. And people then just continued to sit in the dark. And then the sort of the little lights, you know, the tiny little lights that are shining to show you like how to go up the stairs, for example, they turned off. And so then we were just sat in pure pitch black. And I was just waiting for someone to, you know, you have that moment of like, someone's going to go, aren't they? Someone's going to go and say something, or someone's going to come in and go, guys, you're all sat in the dark.
Where were you in the cinema? Were you at the back?
I was at the back, yeah.
Oh,
back
wow.
In the
so,
centre.
like, and I would be thinking, well, someone close to the front can go. Yeah.
Or you're going to think, right, someone from the cinema is going to come in. They're going to realise there's nothing on the screen and this is happening. But no one did. So, of course, you know me, I was like, well, I'm not having any of this. So I was like, off I went down the stairs. Because it would been 25 minutes and we should have been well into trailers, we should have been, you know, proper into advert, we should have been that like turn off your phone and nothing. So I went out and grabbed someone and just said, I don't know if it's meant to be like dark in here, but we're all just sitting in the dark, I think I said to him. We're just all sitting in the dark. And he went, right, okay. And he came and he was like, it's not meant to be like that. Then,
Funny enough.
ensued many attempts to get something up on the screen. We had the manager coming in, going up the back. There was like a moment where the Super Mario Brothers trailer popped up. Obviously that was in 3D from what I could see.
Yes.
Middle of it, and then it went away again, and then the screen like sort of got a bit, but you know when the screen gets bigger when the film's meant to come on, but then nothing happened. We didn't get any adverts. And then the Super Mario thing came back on again, and it was, but then it was shaking. The other thing that I was really worried about was it came back on, and you can feel everyone sort of breathe a sigh of relief, and they'd been in and out, sort of saying sorry, guy, and actually 3 different people had come in and apologised, which was great because we all knew what was happening. I actually messaged you at the time, didn't I, and said I think I'll be coming home earlier than I think.
Yeah.
Then the Super Mario Brothers trailer came up again, and again it's in the middle of it. It's not started from the beginning, and it was shaking. And it was shaking from side to side. And I thought, oh my God, is this what this high frame rate... like, I really thought, because I heard people had said it's like, it's meant to be really fast. And some people said, it makes it look slow on the screen, or it makes it look like a computer game. I thought, if this is what it's going to be like all the way through Avatar, I can't watch this film. I just can't.
Whereas in actual fact, it was someone kicking the shit out of the projector probably to try and get it working.
I was taking my 3D glasses on and off because I was thinking, is it the 3D or is it the screen? But when I took the 3D glasses off, you could see the screen moving. Then I got the next trailer was Barbie.
Yes.
And that was not in 3D, so I could see that the screen was fine. But I was really worried. We didn't get the BBFC sort of like thingy coming up telling you whether there's violence and sex and drugs and all that in it. I didn't get any of that. I didn't get to see what rating it was. There was no everyone turn your phone off and get ready for the film and all of that. So none of that. Because after the Barbie trailer, it went off again. And then someone came in and said, we are going to get this, they were so determined, we will get this film up, there's something wrong with the server, we will get this film on this screen. And then the film just started from the beginning. So didn't even get a run-up, it was just, and now Avatar is on. So it was a really interesting, in inverted commas, interesting more build-up to the film, where every 5 minutes I'm thinking, I'm going home in a minute, I'm going to be like, I'll have a bit of extra time this morning. And that frame rate really worried me. I really thought if that's what it is in this Super Mario Brothers trailer, I'm not going to be able to cope with it. Do you know the answer to the question? Did I see some sort of weird frame rate, having it in pure 3D, without IMAX, without Dolby? You're very good on the technical stuff. I don't think I did, because I didn't feel there was any difference between me seeing Avatar, the original, 13 years ago, and the experience I had, the technical experience I had in this one. I would be really interested to know if I did indeed have this. Is it high frame rate?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it's very old frame rate, but high FR, HFR.
Do you know the answer to the question?
I don't. I suspect you didn't.
Okay.
But fucking hell, do Odeon make it tough to find out what's happening.
Yeah.
It's like, so I went on their website to try and work out how I was going to watch this, because this is literally in about 14 different formats. There is IMAX, there is Dolby, there is iSense, which I'm still trying to find a... As I understand it, I think it's Dolby Cinema, like, one under.
Right.
I think it's Dolby Cinema without the actual Dolbiness of it, without Dolby coming along and saying, yes, this is a Dolby Cinema. I don't think it's laser projected, but I think it's got the Dolby Atmos sound, and it's got a big screen. I was in a big screen. It looked not that far off an IMAX for me.
Okay.
But it obviously not an IMAX, because it would call itself an IMAX.
Yeah.
I don't know whether other companies have this same problem of just telling you what you are going to be watching.
Yeah.
And I wonder if it is just the fact that cinemas position themselves as, we are the ultimate experience. However, we've got these other experiences which are even more ultimate than the one that you're going to pay still a fair amount of cash for.
Still a fair amount of money, and an extra £2 to go and see the 3D. So I still paid my extra £2
on top of your Limitless
on top
pass.
of my Limitless, yeah.
I paid £4.50 of my Limitless.
Okay.
included the glasses with that because they are special glasses, which seem to be 2 layers. I was trying to work this out at the point it was dark, so I couldn't tell. I mean, it still offered me the chance to buy glasses, but these were very different glasses, and it said next to it, not required for Dolby 3D.
Right.
Which... sort out your app, mate. Don't offer it to me, because I'm sure people will have bought them.
Oh, I bet they will. Yeah.
But yeah, so I saw this I was listening to the Empire podcast, and James Cameron picked the Dolby Cinema in London as the place to have the premiere because he thinks it's the best cinema experience for this.
Right, okay.
I can understand what he is saying, having experienced this. If you get a chance to watch a 3D film, you get none of the light loss, you see bright, vibrant colours, and it is the best way to see a 3D film. It's probably the best way to see a film, because the blacks are black, the whites are white. If you were in a dark scene, you can see exactly what's going on. But yeah, there are about 7 around the country, so good luck with that. If you don't live in Birmingham, London, Leeds, or Manchester, I think it is. Well, maybe there might be one Edinburgh as well, or Glasgow, but yeah. So the film.
The actual film, now that we've gone through that.
Go on then. You go first.
Do you want to do a brief introduction to what the film is about?
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So we are back with the Sully family. That's what I'm going to call them.
The Sullys.
So yeah, Jake Sully, Natiri, and their now 4 children, 3 of whom are their children, and 1 is an adopted child. That has come from a very interesting place, let's say, because I think that's quite it's a plot point that I didn't know going in, and I think I quite enjoyed finding out when I got there. So 3 of their own, 1 adopted, 2 girls, 2 boys, and they are having a lovely time with the people, as they call them, their clan, in the forest, and everything's great until the Sky People return, and war returns, and difficulties and challenges return. Characters that we thought might have died return, and so the Sully family are forced to flee to another part of Pandora that we didn't know existed in the original film. And this part of Pandora is a reef. It's coastal, and therefore there's a lot of water, hence the title, The Way of Water. And they have to learn the new ways of the other clan that they and we meet in this sequel. in this sequel was the only words I could think of at that point in time. That's it, isn't it?
Yes, I think that's fair enough. Go on then, Elaine. What's your thoughts?
Is this spoiler free?
This is spoiler free.
Spoiler free, everyone. It took me a while to get back into Avatar 2: The Way of Water. And I think that was because I was slightly disturbed with the introduction to the film, having, lights going on, lights going off, no BBFC sort of thing, and no real trailers, and I was a little bit off. Also, we had something going on at home that I needed to keep an eye on on my phone in case something had happened. So whilst I had my phone on my knee ready to vibrate, and I was just slightly, my brain wasn't 100% in it, so I think I have to put that into...
It's tough to lose yourself in a film in that situation.
When you're sort of waiting for something to perhaps occur. So it took me a while to get back into it, and I was a bit like, oh, I'm not quite sure I'm in, because I loved the original Avatar and I loved the immersiveness of it. Half an hour went by, I relaxed into it, and I was fully into the film. I was fully into what was happening. I felt I was back in that world. It was taking me along for the ride, and it continued to take me along for the ride throughout the entire film. And so my disclaimers are still there from the original. Plot-wise, this has a lot to... this has a lot to be desired, and I have more of an issue with the acting in this than I did in the original. And there's one character in particular that really did not work for me, and every time they came on screen, I wanted them to not be on screen. There were moments where I laughed out loud, and I don't think I was meant to be laughing. But I went with it, and I think that was the best bit was, I was thinking, this is crackers. This is absolute crackers. I am laughing my head off at this. And at one point, I was thinking, I cannot wait to do a skit of this with you at home when you've seen this. I cannot wait to talk about this bit of the film with you and do all sorts of weird and wonderful, like, shouting of lines and things. I found myself crying throughout the whole of the second half, to the point where I had to really sort myself out when I went to walk out of the cinema. And that was partially to do with the world and being back in Pandora and the things that Cameron was saying, and it was also to do with a particular plot point in the second half.
Yeah.
I have lots of reservations about this film, but the mind-blowing experience of Avatar, and now Avatar 2, remains with me. And the experience of being in that world, the big, boombastic madness of James Cameron, has seen me through this. I would have given the original Avatar a 5-star, and I probably still would, even with the reservations. This doesn't quite live up to it for me, because there were certain things that I just couldn't quite live with, and I really found difficult to get over. But it's still a 4 out of 5 for me. I can see why the reviews have been so polarising, because I think you could come out of this and say, it's amazing, it's up really, really high. I can also see how you can go completely the way, because if you are not into this, you will not be into this. It's 3 hours, 12 minutes. It's got some really challenging, some laughable things in it if you come at it from that particular point of view. Some of the acting is utterly mad. Some of the plot points are mad. Most of the plot is incredibly derivative. There are bits of his other films weaved into this film, and I was like, oh, there's the bit from that, oh, that's, so you can totally pick it apart. I don't agree with the 1-star reviews that have come out. There's a particular 1-star review that's really, really brutal. I can't see how you can, hand on heart, say that this is a 1-star film with the technical ability, with the beauty of what is on the screen, and the love and care that has been put into it. It is a spectacle. But I can see how people would go down on that side. I have, and I'm quite happy about that, in my little brain has gone, take me along for the ride, Mr. Cameron. I'm quite happy to do it. I was, despite crying throughout most of the second half, I was happy to be taken on this journey with you, and good on you for giving me a cinematic experience similar to the original Avatar. That is where I've come out. I think you might be down the 1-star end.
I don't think it's a 1-star film. I agree with largely. I agree with pretty much everything you said. Technically, this is a superb film. For a lot of this film, it's like going into John Lewis or Curry's and going to the £7,000 TV and just seeing the demo disc that they have on there, which is nature shots, and the detail, especially with the variable frame rate scenes, look absolutely stunning when you're just looking at the scenery around Pandora. The underwater elements are really, really hit the ground running and just take you away. Like, I can understand why people say I want to be in Pandora, because I think it is such an immersive experience. And this is the second film I've seen that I think justifies the use of 3D.
Yes.
The first of which being the first Avatar. I cannot get on with the plot. I think that characters make decisions which would just completely I want to discuss some of these plot points with you because they just make no sense that it's something that someone will do. I think that characters that were the highlight of the first film are completely forgotten for the first 2.5 hours of this film. It didn't affect me emotionally. There are emotional moments where I sat there. I think part of the problem is I have a face blindness for Navi. And at points I don't understand who things are happening to.
Okay.
There are a bunch of kids running around. I can see that one of them's a girl. I can see two of them are boys, but the other boys, I know one's tall, one's small, but if they're not sort of next to each other, I don't know which one's the older, which one's the younger.
Yeah.
And that is important in these things.
Yeah.
I missed a lot of that. I missed a lot of plot points because of that. The other problem with this is the variable frame rate for me. I saw Gemini Man win the high frame rate, and I thought it was off-putting. This used a variable frame rate whereby in a lot of talking scenes they will go back to the 24 frames a second that you would normally see films in.
Okay.
And for action scenes it speeds up to 48 frames per second. But the act of going between that just took me out of the film every time. I've heard people say it worked perfectly for them. It seems like it's just the way your brain is wired about how this fits you. And when it goes into high frame rate, quite often it looks like video game scenes. Right. Part of it half expected to see not actual in-game footage written on the bottom.
Right, okay.
Because it looked like an advert for Gears of War or something like that.
That's interesting.
At points.
Because I didn't get that at all, and I thought I might do, but I didn't, so I wonder if this is the frame rate issue.
Other points, it doesn't seem to stick. It's sometimes tough to tell. Because at some points when there are human characters in this, and sometimes when they are talking, it looked too clean, and the only thing I can say it looked like is somewhere between a sci-fi original movie and a Sky One Arrowverse DC TV show. It looks cheap.
Right,
It makes things look cheap. Yeah, and I can't quite put my finger on why.
Okay.
It's almost like it's too. I think it's shot digitally, and I think that shows, and I think it looks too good. When I used to work in telephony, like we had a telephone system that ran over IP, and we put in some really high-end conference phones, and if you were sat in Glasgow on this conference phone and in Newcastle on one of them conference phones, it just sounded like you were in the room, and everyone said you need to turn that down because it's just too weird to hear a voice as if you're in the room.
Yeah.
So I think as a human we kind of benefit from a little bit lower fidelity when we kind of expectation. Absolutely. I can completely understand if the storyline hit you. I can completely understand people loving this, and I don't begrudge anyone with a 5-star review on this. I really question some of the 1-star reviews because I feel some of that might have been made going in. I don't see how. I mean, people have their own opinions. I don't see how anyone can look at the sheer scope of what has been done on screen here and say this is a 1-star film. But hey, look, people make their own decisions and stuff.
And
like
what
that.
do we want out of cinema? I was thinking about this. You know, what do you want? Obviously, there's loads of people out there that love their art house. They love their independent. They like their quiet, thoughtful films. And so do I. On occasion, I'm much more up the blockbuster end. But sometimes you just need a bit of. Like, obviously, James Cameron has a very interesting reputation, and we were walking along the shops today, and I was giving you a fact by fact.
It was like scrolling through Twitter.
It was, yes, which you said to me at the time. And so I was giving you sort of James Cameron 101. So he has had this very...
unprompted as well. I didn't ask for this. You just started to tell me how many wives he'd had.
Yeah, I just thought, do you want to know? And who they were. And...
No, you didn't ask me who I want to know.
Yeah, but I just thought you might. So obviously he is known for being, let's just say in inverted commas, a difficult character, someone who's difficult to work with. And I don't put that to one side because I don't think... I've got a real thing about... I don't think you need to be a complete arsehole to be a genius. Do you know what I mean? I hate that trope of, oh, well, you know, someone gets away with being awful to people, but they're a genius, because that's the way people abuse power.
Steven Spielberg seems to be liked by everyone he works with. Yes.
Yeah. So I think there are the ways of doing it. So I'm cautious around that. But what do we want out of filmmakers in general? Do we want people to go, oh, well, let's not bother with that, or let's just remain at the minimum level? Or do you want someone to go, you know what, I've got this idea, I want to go for it, I'm going to go for it, and if it doesn't come off, it doesn't come off for everyone, but I'm just going to do it. And that's what I like about people like Cameron, who just go, you know, he's clearly like a, fuck it, I'm going to do, these, no one's asking for a sequel, but I'm going to bloomin' well make you one. And you know what? I'm going to make you another one as well. Probably 2 more afterwards, because I'm the king of the world. There's something about that I just go, wow, well, fair enough.
I'm guessing there won't be 2 more films after this. I mean, it's not that it's relevant, but I think the opening has been quite mooted.
I was really surprised that there were only, must be 6-7 people in my showing, and it was the 10:30. It was one of the first. Was it the Friday the opening day?
Friday was the opening day.
So
you would
but to be fair, when we looked at other showings, the IMAX 3D in the same cinema was nearly sold out later on in the day.
I think that tends to be the case of big films, because the IMAX 3D is the one with the recliner seats, and they were better than the recliner seats that I had in the Dolby Cinema.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. But when we went to see Black Panther, that was a lot busier for the first showing than the one you went to.
Yeah.
And they were busy all morning.
Yeah.
It's made 55 million on its opening day.
Okay.
Which...
Does it need to make... He said it needs to make 2 billion to break even.
It's more than the first Avatar. It's double what the first Avatar did.
Yeah.
But that had amazing legs on it.
And will it have repeat viewing? Like, I do not feel at this point in time that I need to go back and see this film right now. Whereas with the original Avatar, I went 3, possibly 4 times.
Well, I was clock watching all the way through.
Okay.
And I could not get lost in this film, despite the immersive visuals.
Do you think that was the same reason as we've had some stuff going on recently where we've need to keep an eye on phones, and we've need to, was it similar? Do you think you had that running in the back of your head?
I don't think so.
No, okay.
I think it was I think at least partially down to the every 5 minutes it changed from the 48 frames per second to 24,
so
and immediately like, oh, that's happened and stuff like that.
So I'm wondering if I'm trying to find an excuse for the fact that maybe I was doing the same thing, and that I was not checking my phone, but I was checking to make sure that my phone wasn't ringing, and all of that sort of stuff. So, but I'm worried now that I'm using that as maybe an excuse, and perhaps I wasn't quite as into it as.
Well, yeah. I mean, you do your review, it's
No, but you know what I mean. Like, I think it's important to put the context in place, and if I'm saying, totally I'm completely immersed in it, but actually I wasn't, and maybe I'm using the excuse of I was. At
no point could I say I was totally immersed in this, because
I think I was
in my mind. I was like, I've got 2.5 hours left to go of this.
Right, I didn't feel like that.
Okay, well then, that's
a difference then.
A big difference. And I recently went to see the remake. Recently went to see the re-release of the original in IMAX 3D, and at no point did I think, oh, there's an hour left to go on this.
Yeah.
I was lost in that. So yeah,
okay.
I mean, who knows why, but it just didn't work for me on any level, the story.
I think if you are a fan of the original Avatar, my recommendation is to go and see it. Go and see it just to see how you feel. I mean, take your snacks, go to the loo, and you might find yourself in the same position as Mark in that you're clock watching, but it's still a spectacle. It's still something to review and to analyse, and if you come away from it thinking, well, it's not for me, you don't have to go and see it again.
I would still say that even though it didn't work for me, I would still say that everyone should go see this, because it is spectacular filmmaking, and it's worked for enough people that I may just be the minority on this. The effect, when you are looking at the Na'vi, it feels like you are not looking at something that is computer generated. It's almost, there are points where it like goes to their hands.
Yeah.
And it almost looks like, you know, on Thunderbirds,
yes,
when like it's puppets, but then when they need to do something with their hands, it's
yeah,
like a shot of someone's actual hand. It almost felt like that. So that is a worry that it's almost like too real at some points, that it goes beyond the uncanny valley. And I think again that might have taken me out of the film. Water is something that's been long almost impossible to do on screen outside of going in some water. Every effect on this looked
beautiful.
Just beautiful.
Yeah.
When someone comes out the water, they look like they're getting wet, to the point where there's one character that comes out of the water and I'm like, am I supposed to fancy this Na'vi? Because she's doing the Ursula Andress shot and like glistening, and I'm like, I'm not sure how I'm meant to feel about this.
They are, interestingly, I think the Na'vi and the people of Pandora are, and there was another podcast that raised this as well. The women are sort of dressed a little bit like they're in the early to mid 2000s, because they're dressed in like little crop tops and little pants, and they are. I understand why they've done that, but they do look they all look like models for a start. They're all very athletic.
They do look like those kind of like almost chainmail things where like,
yes, yeah.
This is going to sound weird, but
okay,
what can I see through there? And what can't I see? It's very odd.
And the men all have like sort of like loincloths on. Yes. Very sort of Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. So yeah, there are interesting things going on. But yes, I know exactly what you mean. Can we go into spoilers? Because I feel I'm dancing around stuff.
Absolutely. So, from now on, here be spoilers.
I see you. I see you.
Before we go in...
I was about to do something then. Go on.
So, can I just ask who the character that really annoyed you was, and why was it Spider?
Right, I'll save my whale impression for later. What I thought it was a really...
Was it Spider?
Yes. I thought it was an intriguing concept that a child couldn't be put in cryostasis, so that child had to stay and became essentially one of the people. And there's a thread that goes through the story of Avatar and Pandora, the people of adoption, essentially, or being not even like a legal adoption of a child, but adoption into a culture or adoption into a clan, and that takes itself to even another level in this, that Jake Sully and his family have to go to another clan and learn their ways. So I thought that was a really interesting concept, that there was this human child that has grown up within this culture and thinks of himself essentially as one of the people. And there is this tension between him, particularly in Natiri, although that needed fleshing out so much more. There's this tension where she's saying he should be with his own kind because she has this essentially PTSD where his kind came and destroyed her family and killed her father, and all of these terrible things have happened to her people. So to her, he is the colonizer or representation of. So I thought, that's sort of an interesting concept. But then he gets older, and I rarely call out actors because I think it's such a difficult job, isn't it?
If you're gonna do it, at least start with a child actor, yeah.
Well, it's not a joke. It's when he gets older. It's when he becomes a teenager.
Still a child.
I could not get on board with this actor. I think there are moments in the film where he is inert when he should be completely flabbergasted, or he seems to be going along with things that that if he grew up within that culture and the religious aspect, but also the cultural aspects of how those people live and how they think, you would not be able to just stand there inertly watching things happen, or you wouldn't be encouraging outsiders who are going to come and kill the people who essentially have looked after you all your life. You wouldn't be teaching them how to do that. I found that really difficult to get my head around. But maybe if the acting was there, maybe if there was more nuance within the acting of, I'm going along with this because I have to, or I'm going along with this because I've been missing this father figure. It took me ages to work out that I was calling Quidditch, I always want to call Quaritch, was his dad. I just didn't get that, and I was like, is it meant to be him? Is it not? That didn't click for me at all. So I think there's some intriguing concepts there, particularly between him and his new avatar, dad, not dad. But the acting did not take me through.
I don't blame the acting. I'm with you on a lot of this. I blame the script. I think he needed to be more conflicted, and there needed to be something in the script that showed the script or the direction that showed like he was missing a father figure.
Yes.
Look, I could write it in 2 seconds. Look, he's pissed off because they got rid of all his family.
Yes.
Like, and clearly kept him for themselves.
Yes.
The Na'vi.
Yeah.
Like, what set of bastards?
Yeah.
Like, okay, baby's kept going cryogenesis. Someone must have been looking after him. Like, what's happened? Like, we don't know what's happened to his mother.
His mother's died. He says he's an orphan. He's orphaned by the war.
Okay.
They say that at the beginning. So obviously both of his parents have died.
Someone must
But
have.
there must be some other people who
could have took it, like, just stayed behind and maybe got a later shuttle or something like that. Not just, I will take this as my prize from this. Yeah, it's. I've got a real problem with that character. I don't blame the actor. I think that he was underserved by the direction, or all you need to do is just a shot of his face, just like
more scenes of him in dire conflict.
Because one of the big problems with this film for me is it has too many subplots. That the main driving plot gets forgotten for a long spell of time. At one point, when we can go into the Wales in a bit, when we go into the Wales for like an hour, 40 minutes, and we completely forget Quaritch during that time, to the point where like we just left him pissing about on the dragon things, how to train your dragon. Come back after 40 minutes, he's still doing that. Like, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot this was an actual plot on the film. And so I maybe could do with being put together a little bit better. But you've got the whales, you've got the whale hunting.
Yes, which was a terrible, terrible, tense, thrilling, awful. Like, I found myself in bits with that.
You've got Kiri with her epilepsy that's never really clearly settled, going to be set up in the next thing.
The Kiri character, I also have an issue with.
You've got Kiri's parents that are never really addressed, but I bet there will be in the next. Well,
I think my reading of it is that obviously Kiri's mum is Sigourney Weaver's avatar.
Yes.
I think Kiri's dad, in inverted commas, is Awa.
Yes.
I think this is
that worries me too.
This is a religious reference, but I mean, this is a film where people can move their human bodies into a Na'vi avatar. You've got to let it go, haven't you?
I think it'll be James Cameron putting the saviour from the future to come back in time to protect Sigourney Weaver and then impregnating her.
I could not get on board with 72-year-old Sigourney Weaver playing this young girl. I know they've obviously done all sorts with the tech and they've done something with her voice, but the entire time I'm thinking, that's 72-year-old Sigourney Weaver playing and when she has like semi-romantic scenes with Spider, it gave me the ick a little bit. It just made me go, oh, like I know her character's meant to be the same age as him, but that's Sigourney Weaver's voice, like that, and all I've got in my mind is beautiful older lady Sigourney Weaver. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just couldn't get my head around the fact that that's her daughter. Or
it works better for me than The Irishman, shall I say?
Right, okay, yeah.
When The Irishman, like 20-year-old Robert De Niro walks along hunched over, But yeah, I can understand that.
I just didn't. I wish that character didn't exist.
Should we get onto the whales?
I like the whales. Hello, I'm a whale. Don't ask me about my past. It's too painful.
I like a dickhead whale that goes against that decides
I've
that
only
I'm
got
going to be a
one
lone.
thing.
I'm going to be a lone wolf, and I'm
There's
going
an
to.
outcast. It's so sad.
I'm going to partake in violence if none of the rest of you are.
Yeah, yeah. At least, but he saved him. He saved the Noack.
Twice.
Yeah. I think Boy and His Whale. It was a lovely story between the two of them. I loved it, and I felt really, really angry at the whaler and the people coming to. I felt so angry. They took the mother and the calf, and then. Oh, I was properly crying, and I was so desperate because I knew that the whale. No, they're not really whales, but anyway, I knew the whale would be captured, and I knew she'd die for this. I knew he was referencing real life events where animals are taken for things like their tusks or for parts of their body to make humans look, smell, feel better. And I got really, really angry about it. What?
Stop aging.
Oh, to stop aging, which I thought was interesting, and the reference to is this all so you've killed this beautiful and this is all you're going to use. It's just like real life. And now obviously Cameron's a conservationist, and he's done a lot of things to do with he loves the sea, doesn't he? But he's done a lot with that. So he was making a point, and I took that on board. I found it really heart-wrenching and very, very difficult to watch, actually, and I was really, really upset. And certainly when the character that is also pregnant at the time, and then she comes and said that was my soul sister or something like that, because obviously got these connections, and she had waited many cycles to have a calf, and then the calves, and I just, God, it was just too much for me. I mean, obviously I'm a bit like, anything to do with like death of children as well is very triggering, but I think it just shows you, right, this is not even a whale, this is a CGI alien whale on a planet that doesn't exist, and Cameron had me in the palm of his hand, like desperately wanting this awful man who was with his harpoon to die, and the whale and the calf to go off into the distance. And I was really happy when they come together, and the whales and the people, and like they're all swimming around each other, and they go, oh, how are you? Oh, where have you been on holiday? Oh, have you been to the hairdressers recently? Look, there's my kid. Here's your kid. Like, I loved all of that. God knows why. But, and then to kill them, and I really found it. And I know you're talking about 40 minutes with the whales, but I really enjoyed that bit of the film.
I'm going to sound like an arsehole
Yeah,
now.
you are. Yeah, I know.
I thought, my thing was, okay, James, I understand, I'm with you on this. Can we get on with some fucking plot, please?
Okay.
And
then did you enjoy the bit where Titanic happened? Were you enjoying a bit more of, here's a bit of Terminator, here's a bit of Titanic?
No, but what I did enjoy was when the child... Do you know any of the characters' names? Because I don't know any of them.
Yes, yeah, I know. So is it the older son or the younger son? That's Noack.
When he invites him into himself.
Oh, here's my big mouth. Come into my mouth.
And all I could think of was season 3, episode 1 of The Boys.
Oh no.
Which is very different.
That's very different.
Anyone who's seen that will...
Let's not go down... But yeah...
When he's walking through his mouth, all I can think of is...
Come and visit my mouth, and then also connect inside my mouth, and I will show you my history.
Weird.
It's just bizarre, isn't it? But anyway, I think you could do all sorts of weird analysis on that, couldn't you?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Probably best to move on. So yeah, did you enjoy the action?
The action, yeah. I mean, James Cameron knows how to shoot an action sequence, and it looked amazing in the Dolby Theatre. The colours on this absolutely pop. Like I said, the darkness and the lightness. A lot of the action underwater takes place in really dark situations. How did that work for you? Because
perfectly.
The Silverlink Neros can sometimes be a little bit dark.
It wasn't at all. I didn't, even with the 3D glasses on and everything, I didn't notice anything. I thought the underwater scene, particularly when the boat has capsized and they're in like sort of air pockets, it really got me. Obviously really reminded me of Titanic, but also just that sense of how are they going to get out? I was really, really, really tense. How are they going to get, especially because there's children involved. And I think, again, this is where credit where credit is due. I'm thinking, oh my God, she's gonna drown with this child and they're not real. You know, it's all the time thing. These are not real characters. These are, yes, they're played by human beings. You know, they're mapped on, but these are not real. You know, but they're big blue people, and I was just devastated by the idea that they were trapped within this boat.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I didn't much need someone getting captured, getting freed, and then getting captured again 2 seconds later. Even though not again.
Oh, not again. Yeah, at least they did reference it. Yeah.
Like I said, I think sometimes the action when it's in the high frame rate does look a little bit game cutscene.
Okay.
I don't understand why there are crab robots.
Because it's funny. And because he loves his tech, doesn't he? He loves his sort of the loader type tech that obviously came about in Aliens.
Do you think?
Yeah. So I think it's
to drink a coffee with
funny, isn't it? Like, yeah. I mean, that didn't work because then if you were, there were little things that annoyed me rather than the big things. So when she's drinking the cup of coffee with her sort of skeleton exo whatever frame, right? That wouldn't work because to make the skeleton with the cup come up to her mouth, her actual
hand, yes,
it wouldn't work. And so the whole time I'm thinking it looks cool in one sense on the screen, but it didn't work. No. And it's the same with the Stephen Lang, the actor? Yeah, the Stephen Lang character. The whole idea that he had got an avatar ready just in case something went wrong, but that avatar, it says something in the video message about, oh, you're gonna go and get that, you know, if you're watching this, then I'm dead, and you're gonna go off and get Jake Sully. I could not understand where that came in the timeline. Like, when was this avatar created? Because he would only have known about Jake Sully's disloyalty. There's a very small pocket of time.
Yeah.
So things like that, like, I don't mind timey-wimey nonsense, like the whole grandfather paradox with Terminator blows my mind, and I love thinking about it. You know, if he hadn't sent Kyle back, and who's his dad, and you know the cycle that you can go through. I think that's amazing sci-fi, but this didn't work. This is why I'm saying that there's these minor plot things that just.
What happens if Jake Sully died during that battle?
Yeah.
What happens if the other big warrior that was due to be, who I don't know the name of any of them, but what happens if he was the big guy who like defeated the human army?
I couldn't work out where.
Oh, we've got this video, but it refers to the wrong person. So just whenever you hear Jake Sully, just put that other guy's name.
And then you could see that they were all, the avatars were travelling through space. Yeah, so someone will need to explain that to me at some point, and I've probably just not quite worked it out. But I love.
There is a.
Yeah, I really like the. I mean, there's aliens in this film with the Marines that come in, but they're not obviously anywhere near as well defined as the Marines in Aliens. They're just big blue Marines that, you know, pop up every now and again.
Can I point out my big plot point?
Yeah, go on.
So, the humans have come. Mm-hmm. Oh, we need to move. Mm-hmm. Why is that? Oh, well, the humans are probably going to come knocking on our door going, is Jake Sully here? Mm-hmm. And we'll go, no, he's moved on. Like, okay, thanks a lot. Do you know where he's gone? No. Okay. No, the humans are going to come in and trash the place. Yeah, they're not going to come knocking.
I know.
So...
And you're knowingly putting other people at risk as well. You know that by going somewhere else, they're going to find you eventually. Yeah. And then they're going to destroy those people as well.
It's almost as if James Cameron came up with a technology and thought, how can we get people out to the water to find
we need to get to the water. But it's clearly setting it up for the next few films as well, because this in no way takes us very... I mean, in no way does it really take us very much forward other than a character dies.
Yes.
And some of the others... we know a little bit more about them in terms of Kirie's potential epilepsy, which I don't think is epilepsy, and Spider's interaction with the Quaritch avatar. So there's a couple of those things, but other than that, nothing's really changed.
Did not know which son had died.
Oh, did you not?
Nope. I could have been the younger one, could have been the older one. Yeah. Only realised which one it was when the one when the one that was surviving went and talked to the whale, and I was like, okay, so it must have been the older one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very tropey, and it's the older brother who was the one that was the
sensible
warrior
one.
and the sensible and was always protected. The younger brother is the dad doesn't see him as effective and is always getting into trouble, that sort of thing.
Can I say something I had a problem with?
Go on. I mean, we've been talking about all the problems for about 15 minutes.
So, in the first film, anyone that was a traditional thoroughbred Na'vi was either a black actor or someone with Native American heritage. And when they go along to the coastal the coastal Na'vi, obviously the head is played by Cliff Curtis, who is a Maori.
I really enjoyed his character actually as the equivalent tribal leader.
Should I find it problematic that Kate Winslet
I wasn't sold on that.
I don't understand why Kate Winslet is in this.
No.
Other than the fact that she said, I wouldn't work with him again.
Yeah.
There's something a bit, this would be niche, but Vincent Mann about that.
Okay.
Like, someone's said something bad about him, so we'll put her in and just to prove that.
Yeah.
I really like the representation of having people at those parts who were from, like I said, Zoe Saldana is black and also raised in Dominica. Obviously, Wes 2D is comes from
CCH Pounder.
Yeah,
so,
CCH Pounder.
Yeah, I agree, and I think she was miscast. The whole time I'm thinking that's Kate Winslet putting on an accent.
See, I didn't even connect that until the end of it. So something on that worked for me, but it's on a representation point of view, I find that troubling. The only time I even thought anything about that character was when Norm, the Hottie and the Nottie and Inception scientist comes in. And she goes, oh, what we needed here then? It's like, no, please, could you help me, please? Still. But, yeah.
I liked her as a female character that isn't necessarily likeable. I think she's a bit twisty and a bit tense, and you can see there's a real tension between her and Natiri, and she doesn't want to let them in, and she's sharp, and I quite like that about it. The only issue I have with and Cameron's depiction of women is really interesting, because in one sense I really, really like the fact that he in nearly all of his films has warrior mums. So it's not the sort of mum that's sit at home and, get your knitting out, and that really tropey depiction of a mother that you have, like your Linda Hamilton, you have your Sigourney Weaver, the mums with terrible mums with guns, but mums who can handle themselves, who are protecting their children and have more to them than just being your stereotypical mum. I really like that. I think these are strong women. In this particular film, every woman needs to be a mum, seems to be one of the, or a motherly figure in that very traditional sense. So the Kate Winslet's character's pregnant, and it's very much about, she's, and the whales had a calf and she's going to have a calf. Natiri is mum to all these children. Then even the teenage girl character is very motherly and very, I will teach you the way of the water, whereas the boys are not. I think we've gone backwards a little bit with this film, with its depiction of women in, with the women characters. Even with Natiri, she was just really sidelined quite a lot. Every now and then she comes out with a big bow.
Are we in the last 20 minutes of this podcast? Because we can't even have anything for her to do until the last 20 minutes of this.
And there's that really interesting tension between her and Spider. You see Spider looking at her with like different eyes. She killed his dad. She cuts him at the end. I don't care about him. But then 5 minutes later, they're all on the rock mourning the loss of the son, and he's just sort of stood there looking sad next to her, and there isn't any sort of reconciliation. I'm really hoping this is going to drive forwards more and more, and this is just setting it up for the next few films, because I'd really like to see more of a conflict between those two characters, because I think there is one there. It just needed bringing out. But yeah, I just and I wish we had more characters who were women, who weren't set up in, you know, who didn't have children, who were, you know, not just mums. I found that difficult to swallow in this in particular.
Yeah. I mean, like, I think Zoe Saldana was absolutely forgotten during this film. I really hope that that's not representative of the next film.
I've heard Kate Winslet has said that she only did a month's worth of shooting on this, and this is very much the beginning of her journey as a character, and over the next few films you'll see it really broaden out. So I'm hoping that is the same for others.
I'd say that too if I was pissed off with my thing. Like, George Lucas said that episode 3 would be like the big thing that brings it all together, and it wasn't. Okay. So yeah, I'll believe that when I see it. Okay.
I feel like in our spoiler-free section we've just taken the film apart. I still feel incredibly warmly towards this film. I can see past all of the issues. It doesn't diminish it for me. It makes it quite funny at times, because then I can have a chat with you about it and I can pretend to be a whale. Hello, Mark, I'm a whale. You know, that's what I wanted to do for the first 24 hours, because I'd seen the film and you hadn't. And I just wanted to come back and pretend to be a whale. Just having a chat with you. Oh, where have you been this
Chilling
week?
Insight into our married life.
But like, I can really, really, I think because I got such goodwill with it, I can just put that into what it is and not get angry about it and not get annoyed about it, and kind of go, yeah, I can see all the problems with it, and I still think, for me, it's a 4-star rather than a 1-star. So even though we've picked this apart, I quite enjoy the picking of it apart, if you know what I mean. Like, there's some things that I think are quite enjoyable where you can go, oh, that didn't work. For me, it's kind of a shrug my shoulders and go, yeah, those things are a bit crackers, and I wish they were a bit better, but I still really enjoyed it.
I'm a very high 2, very low 3.
Fair enough.
I'm on the borderline between that. Like I say, I was looking at the clock all the way through. I was like, bum started to hurt because it was just, I was like, not.
It's that for a while.
Yeah, like, but
even
early on, like, it was like, yeah, I was aware that I was in the cinema, which is never a good thing, especially when it's a film that's meant to be this immersive, and it is immersive, but there was so many things that just, I think once they said, oh, yep, well, I think we need to go to this water now, and that was it. I was kind of like, right, so that's been a business decision to do all this tech, and yeah.
Will you watch the third one? Because he's already filmed it, hasn't he? Because he filmed the two of them back to back, which is why Kate Winslet's talking about the character journey. You will go and see it.
I mean, of course I will. I mean, I'll go see.
Would you go and see it again in the Dolby?
Yes.
Yeah.
If I am watching a 3D film, I will go watch it in a Dolby, because I think it makes so much of a difference to the experience. I'd recommend you go see it. Like, if you ever want to go see this again, nip down to the Metro Centre.
I will. I don't think I don't feel like I need to go back straight away, but I will at some point go and see it again.
Okay.
And I'm hoping some of the things that I've picked up on, maybe they fade away. Maybe the spider character isn't quite as annoying the second time round.
I didn't find him that annoying. I found him like, you know,
Tarzan point,
yeah. But yeah, I didn't find him as annoying. I found him badly written, or badly directed. But I didn't find him offensive.
I tell you, the character I really loved, and people have really picked up on this in other podcasts that have been like a character that they're like the worst character in it. But it's Jermaine Clements as the alcoholic, totally depressed marine biologist. I loved him. I loved the cynicism. I loved this is why I drink. I really liked the tortured man, the scientist who's forced on this mission that he's going to learn about the science, but only being with complete bastards who are killing the things that he probably loves. I really like that. There's a whole story in there. And I understand that he's from New Zealand. Like, I don't know him at all. But I don't, darling. I don't. I know it was like, because I came home and I said to you, didn't I? Do I know this Jermaine? Is it Jermaine?
Who's Jermaine Clement? Is
yeah,
what you said
it's what
to
I
me.
said. Yeah,
Yes.
because
no, actually, you
people have
said
been
I
going
don't
on
know
about
Jermaine
it.
Clement.
I don't know him, and I just don't, because I thought he was American. I didn't know who he was for a start. Thought he was American, and then heard on another podcast people going, "Why didn't you get to use his natural accent?" Now,
yes.
As we know from the facts that I gave you this afternoon, Mark, James Cameron now lives in New Zealand, and I think he's got an organic farm there. So I can understand why there were Kiwi actors and Australian actors in there. I mean, I didn't have a problem with his accent at all, but I'm not American, so maybe I haven't got the ear for it. Why do I know this man? You keep telling me I know him, and I don't.
So he was a member of Flight of the Conchords.
Never seen it.
Do you know anything about it?
No.
Do you know what it like? Do you don't know what it is at all?
It's a comedy troupe or something, isn't it?
No. So they are a band.
Right.
They are two people. It's Jermaine Clement and Brett McKenzie.
Right.
They do like comedy songs.
Right.
So like you will know it because I quite
you'll be
often
singing
sing
something, won't you?
The Most Beautiful Girl in the Room. It's Business Time is probably their best known song. Well, if you want, you can close out with Business Time.
Yeah.
The round hip hoppopotamus versus the what was it? The hip hoppopotamus versus the anyway. Yeah.
Right. So comedy songs.
Comedy songs. They had a TV show on HBO, which was really, really charming and lovely, and really, really clever, witty songs, and songs that are funny in a way that. So the problem with comedy songs is you can quite often have to repeat the same joke 4 times in 2 minutes, whereas with this it's just a little bit buildy and it doesn't seem like that. I think you would really find them you'd find them really good.
Okay.
You would really enjoy their work.
Right.
He's since gone into other things. He was in What They Do in the Shadows. What We Do in the Shadows.
And I understood that, but I've not seen that.
Okay, but it's worth watching.
Yeah. It sounds.
It was in
great.
a film, Eagle vs. Shark, which is also by your man who is dating Rita Ora.
Taika Waititi. They're married now.
Yes.
There you go. There's another fact for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Would you like to know more about James Cameron's wives?
No.
5 wives. 5 wives.
One more, and he's like
I
he's
know,
like your
he's like
favourite
every
person.
day.
Yeah. But yeah, he's a brilliant actor. He's in so many things. He's one of them people who, now you've recognised him, you'll probably spot him in everything.
Right, I will. Okay.
A lot of voice roles as well.
I liked him in this. I was intrigued. Anyway, can we wrap up?
Yes.
This is probably going to be one of our longest episodes, and
Yeah.
most of it Avatar.
Yes. Well, thank you for listening.
Thank you.
If you want to follow us on social media, you can find us at The Honeymoon Pod on Twitter and Instagram. If you'd like to leave us a review or a star rating on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, you can do so, and it'd be really appreciated to help other people find us.
You did that really well.
Not always.
Yeah, no, you really do. It's like we've got so much better after, what is it, 122 episodes?
Something like that,
Yeah.
Whatever holidays you are celebrating, please enjoy them.
We will.
We will.
We'll be eating and drinking and making merry.
This is our last episode before Christmas for us, I think.
Yeah.
Well, we're not going to fit anything else in our way. But we will come back in the new year with our films and TV of the year.
Looking forward to that.
I'm
Controversial corner, I think.
I'm not sure I've got 10 TV shows that I can put on a list. But
why don't you watch Strike? And you'll
because I'm not going to get through an entire... I need to get 4 seasons
I did it in 48 hours.
But I need to watch the whole series before it.
Do. Oh, that's sad. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, guys. See you later.